So let's get this show underway. Spawning up here in the top position of Lightshade. Give it up for Team Liquid, CLEM. And his opponent down here in the bottom. He is now representing the Shopify Rebellion. Give it up for the 2016 WCS champion. He is BYUN. So definitely a case of the old guard versus the new in this game. These guys, I don't want to say that they're different skill levels, honestly. It's just that BYUN has a lot more experience in the field, and TVT, it might not be his most perfect matchup. There are definitely some times where we can kind of see him get a little bit sloppy with his positioning here, run into a tank line here and there. It happens to the best of Terrans, you know? It's not really something that can be explained. It just, you see a tank line, you want to run into it. It's kind of like a lemming situation almost. But we do see both sides are going to be getting things started with a factory. The reactors are already down, but they should be expanding behind it. Not too big of a deal right there. Pretty standard stuff. Reaper first. A reactor first for CLEM. So basically, the thing about TVT is it is a very aggressive matchup. You definitely need to be the aggressor at most times, if not all times. The thing about it is because of the fact that you have these siege lines everywhere, they're a little bit immobile, so you need to attack where they're not. So you'll see a lot of different drop plays. You'll see these counterattacks all over the place, just trying to take the pressure away while you expand, while you try and build up a good either siege tank and marine count, or, you know, sometimes mech. Both of these players I don't think go for that, but it's still a possibility, you know, once in a blue moon a situation. But right now, CLEM will have the advantage in terms of having more of these Reapers, as BYUN has cut production just so that he can get the reactor, just so he can go up to the Cyclone. So he's looking to stay very safe. I'd assume that he does not want to move out with these Reapers, because that is certain death for them at this point in the game. Funnily enough, they actually go like 2 ships passing in the night. So they will not meet up with each other, but that does mean this natural is very exposed. He gets it complete, but the SCV is pretty much dead. The Reaper's going to jump in looking for some damage, but on the other side of things, CLEM having to pull quite a few of these SCVs. He will lose 5 of them very, very quickly. This is already some amazing damage for BYUN to start things off. Now he just wants to try and get out of here with these Reapers, and he's going to be able to. As we'll see back at home, he still hasn't cleaned up this location, but that is buying BYUN a lot of time to just get out these units and pull them back. So now CLEM at a 10-worker deficit, trying to expand that a little bit. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely fantastic for our blue Terran player. So now CLEM definitely looking for a little bit of counter damage, but at the same time, getting in there with this setup is not going to be an easy one. It looks like he is going to just go for it, though. Getting a soft contain at the very least. Gets in there to the drop point, but the first siege tank will go down very, very quickly. The Reapers, though, doing what they can versus the marine count, and that will fall. It looks like the Hellions and the marine is close enough to that siege tank, but the repair is very, very good. So he's going to shift his focus, try to get some of these SCVs, try to salvage the situation. But he even gets to save the Cyclone. So CLEM Yeah, I don't think he should continue going with this. I think he does need to back up and regroup. I did say that the aggressor usually has the upper hand, but yeah, not like that. Not like that at all. Now BYUN gonna be going for a little bit of counter damage. CLEM does have a good defensive setup in the front, but there is a Raven in play, so the lockdown can be pretty powerful, and it looks like BYUN just wants to siege up right on top of the production of CLEM. Dropping an auto turret as well, trying to get rid of that siege tank, and he does so with the splash. Getting one of the Vikings as well, but now CLEM does have that air advantage, and BYUN will have to go home. Now keep in mind, CLEM at this time does not have stim. He has not even started it. He is just going pretty aggressively into siege tank Viking production, just doing everything he can to put a little bit of extra pressure on. But this is kind of what's hurting him. He's overextending in a way. As you can see, he's taking huge shots before he can even get into position. And now, BYUN trying to take that third base. I think he should be able to do so. Maybe just a little bit delayed to deal with this one siege tank. But the stim is complete. Now just barely out of range. That's a little bit unfortunate. The biggest thing that CLEM has going for him, though, is the fact that he does have full-on air control of this game. He's got 4 Vikings out to the none of BYUN. Obviously, BYUN has prioritized that medevac production to heal up his workers. Good spread, going to try and take out what he can, but that's just way too much firepower. I think BYUN might be in a little bit of trouble now. Even have to pull the SCVs. He knows that he has to clean this out, and he is able to do so with minimal SCV loss, actually. That's pretty interesting. But now he doesn't really have a ton of units to kind of rotate around with. So CLEM is going to be looking for a bit of an angle to get in here on this third base, and he will be able to siege up this location. Marines are going to come in, just tank a little bit of that fire. The siege tank does go down at the end of it, so the Viking will fall. Back at home, CLEM has secured the low ground position, but it's not an orbital just yet, so it's not going to be producing SCVs. How is the up income advantage looking? It's looking like about 1,000 mineral difference almost for BYUN. So that is... that's a really hard thing to come over. Looks like the Vikings are a little bit out of position as well, but they will be looking for the medevacs coming in. First missile turret just going to be a little bit late, but the siege tank did pop right there, so he should be able to hold this off. Let's see what he can get done and how much he's going to lose here. Already the Marine count is pretty good. The medevac does go down, and BYUN's actually fighting outside of that SCV or that siege tank range, so he will get about 6 workers with it. But the big attack is still coming in here. What a big, scrappy game from BYUN. Everyone is just attacking all the time with very few units, and now CLEM losing 12 additional workers. The scan's going to go down on the ramp, but just barely out of range of that siege tank on the high ground. Now we see that big trickle of units coming across the map. A couple of additional Marines have gotten in, killed off another siege tank. Oh my goodness, CLEM, he's doing okay to try and hold on, but he's just losing so many workers, so many. So much of his production has gone down. It's just really hard to kind of get back into it. His biggest hope is that BYUN runs into a siege tank line. But even then, this isn't really much of a siege tank line. Luckily, he still has that air advantage. Again, BYUN, sometimes he doesn't like to go for the bunch of Vikings, so he's going to be very behind in terms of that regard. The upgrades, though, +2 on the way. CLEM still has not started the +2 himself because that armory is not complete. But BYUN is going to back off. He doesn't want to overextend yet. Now 2 tanks at a time. Currently looking at the supply in terms of that army. It's 94 to 59. As well as that 20 SCV lead. So now from here, BYUN's just going to be pumping out units while I think CLEM would still like to get out a couple more SCVs. But here we go. The tank line is now set. That first tank in the front goes down. The Liberator in the front as well, just trying to get a little bit of spacing for these units. And he will be able to set that up, but it will go down very, very quickly. BYUN expending quite a few Marines in order to make that happen. But overall, he is on top of this third line. The tanks were unsieged for such a long time. He's going to lose it. So the SCVs are pulled, trying to get rid of the tank line. It's not going to be enough. BYUN taking game number 1 in very convincing fashion right there. And that's kind of it. Once you start to put that pressure on, you're really not supposed to let up. So a fantastic start for our blue Terran player. I am going to set one thing real quick. Let me see if I can... There we go. But Pillars of Gold will be our next map. So hopefully the young CLEM can bring himself back into it. I'm sure that he can, as we have spawning in the top right position. Switching colors, he is BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom side, wearing the blue trunks. Give it up for CLEM. So, what is one thing that CLEM can do a little bit better, just to try and keep himself a little bit safer? I think the best thing that he can do is to not overextend as early. Obviously, the aggression is nice. Getting a soft contain on your opponent can do wonders for you. But at the same time, like, you do need to have enough units to maintain that soft contain. You need to have another siege tank in the back so that your opponent can't move out without pulling a ton of SCVs and taking that damage. You want to have those extra Marines just to split around. And you want the Vikings as well, just to make sure that your siege tanks can hit what his can't even see. So just some small things like that, as we do see them switching things up a little bit. CLEM going to be going for the expand very quickly, while BYUN is going to be getting that early factory up and running. So obviously BYUN will be able to expand off the back of this because he did pull an SCV or two. We're going to see him get a little bit of a scout coming in. That was CLEM's scout. But from here, like, I think CLEM is gonna play it a little bit safer. That's for certain. He's going for more Marines rather than that Reaper Hellion kind of style that is meant to go across the map, get a little bit of damage done. In BYUN's case, he is gonna be sticking with that. But again, just with the bunker, just with those extra Marines, it's not gonna really find too much damage this time. I highly doubt that BYUN makes his way into the main base there. But now from here, we should see both sides just go for that Cyclone. Just try and make their way through here. What happened to the Reapers, by the way? Are they still in the main base? They are indeed. I thought they had moved out on the map or something. But no big deal, as we do see the siege tank coming in. So now it looks like BYUN's going to be the one to try and move out. He does have a small position over here, but even CLEM does know about it. So he's just going to be blocking off this location for as long as possible. Let's see how much he can necessarily do. He might even just be able to get in there in the front, but it looks like he does want to take this location. The Reaper coming down to instantly get picked off. The Cyclone looking for a lock-on. Not going to find it. As we do have, interestingly enough, a Banshee going to be coming in for CLEM. Good focus fire, though, from BYUN is going to get rid of that siege tank. But there's not really too much more power with this push, so we'll have to keep an eye on when BYUN decides to get out of there. I would love for him to save that siege tank for later, especially with the Banshee in play. There you go. Just gonna get out of there with those units. And now, it looks like he's still gonna try to move out on the map. It looks like he still wants to be aggressive, but I don't know if that's gonna be the best decision. He doesn't want to overextend like CLEM did. I think the biggest difference, though, is that he does still have that second siege tank out. He still has a lot of firepower with this army. So let's see what he can get done in terms of that unit count. We only have that one siege tank of CLEM, so he's going to have to be finding a location to put that. It's actually over here in the main base. And going to be bringing in the Raven as well. Like the auto turret not focusing down what he necessarily wanted to. He wanted to get rid of that siege tank on the high ground. Now BYUN just going to be rotating around this location. He will be in range of that CC. That is pretty nice. If you could get the SCV building that, that would be fantastic for him. But it will finish at the end of the day. The auto turret battle going down. It looks like he is going to be able to get rid of those siege tanks. No, but the last shot, though. There we go. Finally getting rid of that. The Banshee's still surviving as well, so he's going to have to heal that up. I think overall, a very good hold from CLEM. He was able to take absolutely no damage, so taking a look at that SCV supply, it's currently 56 to 53. And with mules, that's obviously really good for CLEM. So now what it comes down to again is just the fact that Clem is going to be taking that full air control of this game. He has all those Vikings being produced. Now going to be adding on a couple of medevacs because he does feel safe to do so. We do see the Banshee going to be coming across the map looking for a little bit of damage. Might be able to find a lot of it actually. But as BYUN moves his way in, he's going to be looking for at least soft contain. Scan going to go down looking for the armies. And a big lockdown there on that one siege tank in the front is going to allow these siege tanks to get in position. And now the third base is under fire. A big lift up as well for BYUN. Going to be going into the main base, and now he's going to be getting those SCV kills that he so dangerously wanted. He will sacrifice a lot of his units in order to make that work. You do want to keep some of those Marines alive because you do need to save these siege tanks. But overall, just a solid start for BYUN to this engagement. He is going to get cleaned up here, though. Looks like the auto turret doesn't even get that last shot off. As we do see, trying to lift off, get on top of that siege tank, but he does pull that back. Clem, how many SCVs did he lose there? He's lost 20 SCVs so far. In terms of that mineral count, this is looking very good, very good. But honestly, again, the thing about TVT is you can attack, you can be harassing all over the map. You can have these big soft contains, these big attacks that do massive amounts of damage, but then you walk into a siege lane, a siege attack line, and all that work is gone. Like finished, finito, kaput. So that is one thing you have to look for as BYUN going to be trying to divvy up the third base and the natural. As we see, he's going to be adding on some Vikings of his own, trying to regain that air control. There you go. He is going to back off. That is all right. I definitely can't fault him for that. Taking a look at the upgrades here, BYUN looks like he's missing that +2 attack upgrade for himself, focusing more on the armor because that's going to allow him to take additional shots from those siege tanks. But hold that thought as BYUN is just going to stim in here as Clem trying to get into position. We have a full-on base race situation. But there is plenty of reinforcements back at home for BYUN. He's just going to get right on top of the siege line. Some huge connections, though. Going to clean up a lot of those Marines. The lockdown did go down on that tank in the top, but at the same time, it's not really going to matter too much to him since he didn't really follow it up. Now, Clem is not mining off both of these bases. He's just trying to build up a defense in his main while killing off the third. Kept his natural alive, kept his own third alive. So if he can hold on, then he is going to be in a very, very good economic position. Yeah, not really paying too much attention down here. Did take a lot of damage on those Marines as Clem is still knocking on the door. 2 medevacs lift up and getting rid of the Viking. Oh my goodness, that's going to make any sort of a move up on that ramp that much harder, as it looks like he's just trying to save a lot of these SCVs. Now we're in a little bit of a Mexican standoff with these sides, as neither side really has the army that they need to break the siege line. A couple more scans going to be going down, looking for the army.
Base is under attack.
In terms of those upgrades, Clem did get his on the same time, so he will be able to to have that advantage for a little bit. The drop coming in, but that is going to get cleaned up very, very quickly, having to pick up and get out of there. In terms of that unit supply, there is still a ton of Marines, but hold that thought as CLEM going for the Hail Mary. Both of those siege tanks going down very, very quickly. And unfortunately for him, that will cost him his third base. A little bit of a mistake from the French Terran. Trying to get on top of that planetary fortress as well. Going to be a problem losing the siege tank in the medevac too. So, oh my goodness. Just these small mistakes costing CLEM a lot of these units. He's going to pull everything, but knows that he does not have the units to break through. So BYUN will take the series in a very quick 2-0. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit like and favorite and subscribe for more great StarCraft 2 action, and we will see you all at the next big event.